Hi there, if you're joining us, welcome to the South East SELEP Enterprise Apprenticeship Q&A. We're just letting you arrive and settle in, so we'll just give a couple of minutes for the numbers to go up before we start officially, and then we'll do a bit of a welcome. But thank you very much for joining us today. So yeah, I can just see the numbers starting to tot up. So if you're just joining us, welcome to our apprenticeship session today. Really glad you can be here. Just to let you know, we're recording today's session and we'll be sharing this after the event. So thank you. I'm just keeping an eye on numbers. Okay, I think we're probably settled in. Hopefully everyone's settled in, got a bit of lunch or a coffee. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to today's Celebrating Apprenticeship panel and Q&A. We're really pleased to be supporting National Apprenticeship Week. My name is Louise Aitken. I'm Skills Lead for the South East Local Enterprise Partnership, or LEP for short. We cover East Sussex, Essex, Kent, Medway, Southend and Thurrock. And LEP's a body set up by government to drive economic growth. Apprenticeships are a really important part of that, and we've been really pleased to share a range of videos this week via our social media, and which are now available online, and we'll share the link later today. These have featured many brilliant apprentices, employers and providers from across our geography. And I'm also joined today by Jim Wilkinson, who leads on our Digital Skills Partnership and is co-chairing today's session. Thank you, Jim. And
no problem.
Just to note again that we are recording today's session, so we'll be recording that, sharing that after today. So we've had a lot of interest in today's session, so we'll be making that available. But most importantly, welcome to our panellists, and thank you very much for joining us today and for your time. I'm pleased to introduce Adele Conera, who's chair of the Essex Ambassador Network, Helen Clements, chair of our Skills Advisory Panel and of Morgan Sindall, Chris Travers of Morgan Sindall, Jasper Lee, who is an apprentice at Morgan Sindall, and hopefully we've got, I think she's running a bit late, but Monique Lavers of the Skills Funding Agency. So they're all here to answer questions and talk a little bit about their experiences with apprenticeships. I'll hand over to them shortly, but first Jim has a couple of the videos I mentioned to share, and we'll play another one a bit later if we have time. So Jim, can I hand over to you for the videos?
You certainly can. If you bear with me 1 second. I knew this was going to happen.
Hi, my name's Brad. I'm 18 from Essex. I'm currently studying Digital and Technology Solutions at the University of Greenwich. 4 days of the week in my current role as a software engineer. Apprenticeship schemes are definitely the way to go because you get to learn on the job and get paid while you're doing it. In my situation, full pay for my work and subsidise my degree, meaning I'll graduate in under 4 years' time with no debt whatsoever, unlike all my friends who will have their student loan eating into their salary when they start working full-time. During my apprenticeship training, I've already learned a significant number of life skills, such as collaborating with my team on various projects. I'll be able to reference my training to my apprenticeship to advance into more prestigious roles and, of course, bargain for a higher wage. I didn't need any experience prior to my role. I'd never coded before, but now after 4 months, I can code in Java to a higher level thanks to the online resources I've been provided with. So go and get yourself an apprenticeship. They're by no means easy, but you'll be thanking yourself once you've landed a job and working hard every day to launch and enhance your career.
Louise, I don't know if you just want to pad for a second because I've just got a bit of a problem.
Yeah, sure. I think that was a really good example, actually, of a truly LEP apprenticeship because University of Greenwich Medway campus is in part of our LEP geography, and Ford, of course, is an Essex part of our geography. So it's a true example of a South East LEP apprenticeship. I think, are you about to start the next one, Jim?
And I'm about to start the next one, yes.
Brilliant.
Hi, I'm Michaela. I'm Office Manager for Corrin Dudley Electrical Services. I've been with the company now over 12 years and still really enjoy it. I think that's really important when choosing your career path because you do spend a lot of time at work. Each year we get many applications for apprenticeships, so it's really important for your CV to stand out. Things that we look for: someone that's keen, someone that's enthusiastic, and someone that wants to be part of a team, because here at CDS we are a team. When we invite you for interview, we like to see that you've also got a little bit of background knowledge of the company, so remember to do your research, and good luck.
Thank you, Jim. Just a couple of examples of very many videos that partners have shared with us this week and that we've shared via social media. So it's been really exciting and really good to see so many apprentices, providers and employers this week. Thank you very much to everybody who's contributed, and also to the Apprenticeship Ambassador Network and Adele, who have produced some videos that we're sharing on our website and we shared at one of our recent events. So without further ado, I'd like to ask our panellists to introduce themselves and just a little bit about their involvement in apprenticeships. So I'm going to start in the order that you appear on my screen in the interest of fairness. So if I can start with Adele.
Hi everybody. Yeah, I'm Adele Carnera. I've been working in HR for around about 18 years, and I've been involved with apprentices for the last decade or so in different positions. So I've created and developed apprenticeship programs of hundreds of apprentices, and I now work at a small SME where we've got 5 apprentices. So I've worked on some standard development through the years, and I've been an ambassador, AAN ambassador for about 6 or 7 years. The last 3 years as the chair of the Essex AAN.
Thanks, Adele. Very strong involvement there in apprenticeships. Helen, can I move on to you next? You're on mute, Helen.
One of these days I'll remember. Hi, I'm Helen Clements from Morgan Sindall, and I'm their social value manager. And my involvement with apprentices, again, has been over a number of years. Part of my role is to inspire and encourage young people to consider our sector, to join it at apprentice level. And we give you various opportunities to engage with us to do that. I'm also an apprentice, which may shock some of you, as I'm clearly not the typical looking apprentice, but I've been very lucky and had a business that's invested in me and allowed me the time to do my day a week doing my chartered manager degree. So that's my involvement.
Fantastic, thank you, Helen. And I think it's a reminder, isn't it, of what a great option apprenticeships are at any stage. They really are a good option. Moving on to Jasper.
Hi, my name's Jasper. I'm an apprentice for Morgan Sindall. So I started 2.5 years ago as a apprentice quantity surveyor. Again, my career is quite early, so I've only just started out. But before that, I was a student studying business studies at a level 3 diploma. So I started off with work experience. I think, well, I assume I got on quite well. I feel like I got on quite well. Applied for the apprenticeship, and yeah, here I am now.
Fantastic, thank you, Jasper. It's really good to have you with us here today. And moving on to Chris.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Chris Travers. I'm Area Director for Morgan Sindall in Essex, and I work closely with Helen on our apprenticeship programme. I'm a strong believer and very passionate about bringing the future generation into the business, and you know, very proud of the likes of colleagues like Jasper and others that have come through the programme and are launching into careers within the business and within the industry. So you've got no bigger supporter and sponsor of, you know, such a great procedure, process, strategy to get the future generations in the industry. So I'm pleased to be here today. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Chris. Really appreciate your time today. I think we do have Monique from the Skills Funding Agency with us. She's got some bandwidth problems, so she's got her video turned off. I'm going to ask my friend Amy for the technical side, because I can't see her on our screen, if we can bring her into the discussion. So I'll just wait a couple of seconds to check whether that's possible. She's definitely here. So whilst we arrange that, and we'll get Monique to introduce herself, can we just remind you that we've got a Q&A section on Zoom, so please post your questions on there for our panellists. We'd love to get the discussion going about apprenticeships, but we have a few questions of our own, first of all, to ask our panellists. So kicking off, from me, what's the best part of an apprenticeship? And if I can go to Jasper first with that question.
Yeah, so I think I don't know, there's quite a few parts. I suppose the main thing is being able to work whilst sort of studying, well, in my case, studying for a degree at the same time. Particularly when I was leaving college, I was quite unsure what I wanted to do. So I applied for university. I wasn't sure whether to go full-time or part-time. Luckily, I came across Morgan Sindall. As I say, I did the work experience and was offered a degree apprenticeship. So it saved me quite a considerable amount of money, whilst also gaining work experience at the same time. So yeah, I'd say that's probably the best part. So you're sort of accruing work experience whilst earning a good salary, and having to really say, well, you're saving on university fees.
Thanks, Jasper. I think that's a very appealing aspect of it, isn't it? In terms of the making money and not having debt at the end of it is a really positive part of it. I'm happy to say Monique is now here. Monique, can we just ask you to introduce yourself and welcome to the event?
Hi everyone, I'm so sorry. I was just about to speak and then it went. I'm so sorry. Yes, so I am one of the national account managers from the Education and Skills Funding Agency. My role is to support large levy paying employers with all aspects of the apprenticeship programme, T-levels and traineeships.
Thanks so much, Monique, and no problem at all. I think it wouldn't be an online event without one or two technical issues. Somebody said to me recently, something technical will go wrong in an event. You just have to accept that, and then that's fine. So that's I always think that's quite a good way of looking at it. So yeah, if we go back to that same question, what's the best part of an apprenticeship? Be good to ask you that, Helen, as well, bearing in mind that you're also undertaking one at the moment.
Yes, well, I suppose so. My journey is clearly very different to Jasper's, because I've been out working for absolutely years. And for me, it's given me a chance to achieve a degree, which when I left school, had never even dreamt of achieving. And it's the support you get from the business and people around you to help you with the different modules. If I'd gone and done my degree part-time in the evenings off my own back, or if I'd have done it straight from education and into full-time, I wouldn't have had experienced people around me to help me with some of those challenges that you have doing that degree. In the modules and some of the areas that I'm covering aren't necessarily areas I use all the time in my day job, so I needed to go to an expert in the business. So for example, I've just recently completed my finance module, and although I can do basic maths and do basic finances, this was a bit higher level than that. And I was very grateful of my colleague Andrew, who helped me very much in terms of understanding some of the terminology that was used and then actually being able to do it. And you don't get that if you go to full-time uni at all. So for me, that's my biggest benefit, is having the experience of others around me, as well as being able to have the opportunity of getting that qualification and demonstrating to people and to myself, really, it doesn't matter what your age is, you can still upskill yourself and become better qualified, really.
I think, yeah, that's really important message, Helen, and it's something that I think not everybody is still aware of, are they, that an apprenticeship is an option at any time, and there are just so many different types of apprenticeships as well. So if I can ask that same question to Adele in terms of what you think the best part of an apprenticeship is.
think for the many apprentices I've spoken to in different areas over the years, the one thing I probably stand out for me is the opportunity to do something new, whether that's build on something you've learned in education, or transfer and do a different kind of job, with that kind of supported environment surrounded by your training provider and your employer. As Helen said, there's a broader range of support and the opportunity to have practical experience in what you're learning.
Brilliant, thank you, Adele. Monique, from your perspective, what do you think is the best part of an apprenticeship?
I think it's definitely learning while you're earning, especially for some of the young people. That's definitely a positive, and certainly the support that the employers give to apprentices on their journey of doing the apprenticeship. It really shows how much the employer thinks of the person, if they're willing to put all that time and effort into that person and support them through the apprenticeship.
Thank you, Monique. Yeah, I suppose it's investment in many different ways, isn't it? That's a really good point. Chris, did you have anything to add in terms of what you think is the best part of an apprenticeship?
I'm going to cheat a bit here, if I'm honest, Louise, and say the whole journey. So through the initial introduction and meeting new people, and providing opportunity and a platform for them to come into the business, warmly introduced, fully supported, expected to arrive at the certain time. Everything is, the scene is set for them, and then watching their growth and development and supporting that across typically the 4-year program, and then celebrating the success of coming out the other end of it, suitably qualified, but also matched off against that experience as well. So they are very useful, an organisation like Morgan Sindall, that they have a combination of experience and qualification to then springboard their careers, and off they go. And trust me, it's incredibly rewarding to sort of like see that journey through that period of time and see them sort of well placed to take it on from there.
Brilliant. And I think we've seen a small part of that kind of the rewarding nature of it actually through some of the videos, and just how inspiring it is and how important it is to the individuals undertaking those apprenticeships. And on note of celebration as well, it's worth noting that Kent and Medway have held a graduation ceremony for the past couple of years that's been really successful, and it's just really good to see that kind of official celebration of apprenticeships across the geography. And Sussex have done likewise. In East Sussex there's been a graduation ceremony, and you can just see how important it is to the individuals being part of that. It's just really good to see that celebration happening across the patch. So moving on to another question. I don't think we've had any through Q&A as yet, so just to remind people that is an option for you. I guess this might be a more difficult one to answer, but what do you see as the most challenging part of an apprenticeship? So we've focused quite a lot on the positives, but what's a challenging aspect? So if I can go to Helen first on that.
Fitting it into my day job. So trying to make sure I take my 20% off the job. And I think from a business point of view, that's hard sometimes to release people to do that. And then there's my own discipline to make sure I take my 20% off, and I'm not particularly great at that. So that then eats, that you eat into your weekend or your spare time doing a degree anyway. And then if you don't make sure you take your day during the week, you've got that day as well to catch up in your own time. So, but that's not my company's responsibility. That's my responsibility to make sure I book it in. And I'm just pretty rubbish at saying no to things, so I squeeze too much into my day. But I don't mind, because I love my job and I feel very privileged to have been given the opportunity to do the degree. But that is the biggest challenge, is being disciplined. And like for me initially, I hadn't been into education for over 30 years. To get into that learning mode was like, well, it took 2 modules. In fact, I think week 3 I was ready to give up, and luckily I had an amazing tutor who gave me a bit of self-belief to be able to do it. And actually I thank her every time I complete my next module and think, yes, if you hadn't have kicked me up the bottom in week 3 and kept me going, I would never be here today talking as an apprentice. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge from my perspective.
That's really interesting, and I always think you're a bit of a magician, Helen, in the amount of things you manage to do. So it's yeah, I can imagine it is hard to fit it all in to the day. If I can ask Adele the same question.
Well, my answer is the same actually, but from an employer perspective, I think one of the comments from employers most often is the 20% mystery, and I think the best answer will reflect what Helen said. Really, it's the advice that we always give is to make sure you explore what that looks like in your organisation with your apprentice and with the training provider, so everybody understands what that looks like for the duration of the apprenticeship, because it can feel a bit overwhelming, very much a juggling act for all parties, and I think that plan at the beginning, to understand whether that is 1 day a week or a different pattern, is really, really important, and then everyone knows where they are.
Yeah, I think that is important, isn't it? As you say, just everybody being fully aware of what it involves. It's that investment again, isn't it? And knowing that where that's leading to, and it will take some time and capacity, but it's well worth it. So Jasper, the same question to you, the most challenging aspect.
Yeah, I'd agree as well. Obviously, you're supposed to go to university and complete the same degree full time, and you're managing to sort of squeeze that in whilst working. So it can be quite challenging, and especially when you've got sort of assignment deadlines or exams coming up, you need to do revision. So yeah, I'd agree with that's the main difficulty. But you just got to be quite strict with yourself. Try and get a program in or a diary at least, just to try and plan your week. Make sure you get your sort of studying time in, and just sort of bank it in right from the start. Set a good routine really. I think that's the main way.
And have you found that during lockdown, has that been any different? Or the word routine seems quite pertinent there in the lockdown.
Yeah, whereas everything's gone a bit weird since lockdown. I think working from home, it gives you the flexibility to, if you are a bit quiet at work, to perhaps juggle your workload and say, oh, I could really do with an extra hour of study or an extra half hour. And likewise on your study days, if you manage to get it a bit, or sort of get your work done a bit earlier, you can then sort of revert back to the work. So I think, again, you've just got to try and manage it as best as you can and not to get stressed out about it, because at the end of the day, everyone's going to try and assist you and try and help you as well. And if you are struggling, it's probably just best to talk to someone, no matter what it is, whether it's studying or work. Always be honest and try and talk to people, really.
Yeah, I suppose that's important, isn't it? There is a lot of support out there from the employer and provider perspective as well, so that's important to remember. Monique, did you have any reflections on the most challenging aspect of an apprenticeship?
Yes, sorry to be boring, but it's exactly what everyone has said. Doing an apprenticeship is not something to be taken lightly, especially with the higher levels as well. Employers and the person doing the apprenticeship must understand what it entails. It's not necessarily an easy thing to do. And also a line manager must understand what the apprentice at any age, any level has to do, and they must understand all details of the apprenticeship so they can support, as Jasper said, the support is essential, not just from the training provider but from the employer as well. So to completely understand what it means to do an apprenticeship is really, really important.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's good that the same sort of things are coming through, actually, because you've all got very different perspectives on apprenticeships. So it's useful really to get your input from different perspectives. Chris, did you have anything to add on the challenges?
A similar sort of theme, really, to follow on from what Monique was saying there about line management awareness. I'd like to think that we're a supportive organisation who appreciates that there's going to be sort of like peaks and troughs with regards to the requirements of the apprenticeship. So regular check-ins, regular support, and regular communication. And you know, so gratifying to hear Jasper saying what he's saying with regards to just being upfront and honest with people and setting the right levels of expectations both ways with regards to what can be achieved. Because there's going to be times that, you know, the business can actually say, well, do you know what, there's an assignment coming up or something needs to be concentrated on there. We can actually provide a bit more flexibility in that workload approach, and you know, we can become adaptable. Because ultimately, if we've got an apprentice who's stressed out or pressured about something, then that's not good for anybody, for our organisation, for the individual. So if we can play our part and do our bit, but that all emanates from regular conversations, communication, and check-in. So that's you know, that's the answer to that sort of question from my perspective, from an employer's standpoint.
Brilliant, thank you, thank you. And moving on to another area of question is, would you recommend an apprenticeship to others, whether that's fellow employees, other employers, friends, family? From my perspective, I would definitely say yes to that, but I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier. It's just being realistic on what the kind of what it involves, and what sector maybe that person is looking to get into. But I've had lots of conversations off the back of what I now know about apprenticeships, about how good it is as a route into many sectors that people don't always consider. So if I can go to Adele with that question.
Yeah, I think I absolutely would. Again, from an employer perspective, I have had first-hand experience of seeing how the utilisation of apprenticeships and moving people into roles and experience they've never had before has really helped business success. I've worked with a lot of businesses that wouldn't have been able to grow and morph in different directions without the use of apprenticeships in retraining and upskilling new and existing staff into different areas. So yes, absolutely.
Brilliant. And Chris, so I'll ask you the same question.
Yeah, 100% definitely. I mean, perhaps I'm slightly biased because my route into the industry only a few years ago, well, it's actually quite a few years ago in fairness, was through 1 day a week going to college as well. So, you know, I'm a massive support of that balance I referred to earlier with regards to experience and qualification gain. I think when you come out of the program, you're much more prepared, better suited, more aware, confident as well. And confidence is a big thing with regards to that development program as well. So I'm a massive supporter. I've got a daughter who's considering an apprenticeship route, and we're looking into many different sort of options that are available to her at the moment as well. So yes, 100% back the apprenticeship route. All ends up. So and that's not just from a father's perspective looking at university fees. I can guarantee it's with regards to the benefits that the apprenticeship program brings the individual, but also the company with new, young, fresh thinking individuals coming into an organisation.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, it does feel like there's been an opening up of awareness, doesn't it, across the different options that are available at different levels and in different sectors, which is brilliant. But I think still raising awareness is a key objective, which is why it's great that we're all here today, and all the videos and stuff that we've been sharing. Jasper, can I ask you the same question?
Yeah, definitely. I always try and recommend it. I think it's, well, especially when I was at school, we were really pushed down college, university. That was almost like the only option that was available to us. And yeah, my sister's in the same position where she's just started college and she's not particularly enjoying it. So I've recommended to her to sort of look out, see what's available, see what's out there. And I think from what I'm aware, she's applied for some apprenticeships, but I guess it just depends on the individual, what you want to achieve, what your career aspirations are, and just sort of mapping the best way to get there. But yeah, yeah, just to sort of reinforce, I definitely recommend an apprenticeship.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, and as you say, it's just knowing about the full range of options, isn't it? That's really, really definitely key here. And Monique, can I ask you the same question?
Yeah, without a doubt, I would highly recommend apprenticeships. I've got a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old, and I'm constantly recommending, I'm not sure they'd say recommend, but that's what I'm saying, recommending an apprenticeship to them. And I'm really pleased that both their schools are getting more engaged with apprenticeships. Their newsletters, definitely weekly newsletters, have a lot more apprenticeship information on it, which is a really, really positive way. I think it's great if you've got a good idea of what you want to do when you're younger, and if there's an apprenticeship in it, why would you not? Why would you not be able to gain that experience while you're learning, but while you're also getting that education? To me, that's just a win-win in all ways. But also, of course, we mustn't forget retraining for older people. It's a fantastic way to upskill, retrain. So yeah, I'm 100% would recommend apprenticeships, and I have also done an apprenticeship. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you, Monique. And Chris, sorry, I've already asked you, Chris. Helen, I'll ask you the same question.
Absolutely recommend them, and particularly for those that might not be able to access higher education due to the affordability, or for those that don't particularly like education, and this is a really good way to still get your education but be practical at the same time. You know, I speak to many people that, you know, didn't enjoy school because of the environment of a school. It wasn't that they didn't enjoy learning, they just didn't like how education worked for them. And I think an apprenticeship gives you that chance to prove actually you are brighter than you think, and actually I'm not going to be restricted because I can't afford to do it, because an employer is investing all of that amount in. And from an employer's perspective, I think you get much more loyalty and commitment when you've brought somebody through the ranks. And I know I work with colleagues in the business that have grown up in our business. You know, they started their apprenticeship with us, or back in the day it was called a traineeship, but it was the same thing, just funded differently. And they're still with us, and, you know, some of them are our directors, and, you know, that's pretty amazing investment from a business perspective. So I just, to me, it's a bit of a no-brainer. You know, earn and learn. Who wouldn't want to do that? And you still get all the fun that you'd get meeting new people by going off to uni, but without all of those debts. And I'm sure Jasper will say his social life is still as busy as if he'd gone to full-time uni, which is part of what the journey is of going that route.
Thanks, Helen. I think you're right. When you sort of set out the benefits, it is a bit of a no-brainer, really, isn't it? In terms of kind of earning and learning and the experience you gain, it just seems like such a kind of good route to go down. We've got a question in the Q&A, so I shall bring in Jim to read that out to you and get your thoughts.
Yeah, so again, the question goes to everyone, but I'll bring in people one by one. But this is from Mike Ratcliffe. Good morning, Michael. This says, with so many of our school and college students studying remotely and missing so much of their curriculum, what particular advice would you offer to students looking to apply for an apprenticeship at any level, whether that's immediate, intermediate, advanced, higher, or degree? So I suppose, you know, in a climate where a lot of kids are missing lessons, they're working from home, schooling from home. When they come to their applications, is there any particular advice that our panelists would give them? If we go to the person least or earliest in the start of their apprenticeship, perhaps we'll go to you, Jasper, first.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think one of the key aspects is, although it's a bit difficult now, but trying to obtain some sort of work experience. At least that way, you know, before you're actually going in and applying, you're actually quite interested in the job itself. And it might make you sort of develop some early relationships with the company. I think when speaking to Helen, that was quite sort of a high, I don't want to say marking criteria, but that was quite a good sort of step into the company. I suppose you could use the alone time or the quiet time you have got now to sort of put that in place, sort of plant the seed, ready for when perhaps things start to become normal, that you've already got it arranged and sort of done up front. It's a case of just cracking on, and then, yeah, hopefully that should look well in your application.
Yeah, thank you. And Helen first, and then Chris. But as employers, you know, bearing in mind what you know of schooling at the moment and education and what's happening, you know, what might you be looking for differently within an application, if that's even true?
Okay, so from my point of view, don't let the current world stop you going and getting your work experience, right? Because there are lots of companies out there that are offering virtual work experience, and we are one of those companies. And in fact, next week, between me and my colleague, we've got 100 students coming and doing a virtual work experience. And that placement, a lot of the virtual experiences out there, because companies have had to work very fast track at working in their day jobs virtually, transferring their work experience to virtual hasn't actually been as difficult as perhaps some of us had originally thought it might be. And I know from our own program, our experience is no different. If anything, it's actually better because I have more students on the program. Work experience is really key to a young person's confidence. So whether they end up in the sector that they've done their experience in or not, what it gives them is the information to be able to answer interview questions. And if you're applying for a job with a company that you've done work experience, they will have some history of you. I know from the fact that, the people who Jasper did his experience with, the recruiting manager would have spoken to them and asked them, what was Jasper like? So there's all those benefits. And also at the moment, I would really recommend to young people to use LinkedIn as a networking. It's a business networking platform, and it's a really great place for young people to raise their profile about the sector that they're interested in. So I think we give a lot of negative messages because of the current climate, and actually, the new world will be a blend of the old world and the current world. So actually we have to get used to it, get over it and get on with it. And that's really my message to young people. Don't let what's happening now stop you from achieving your dreams. You just have to work a slightly different way to make it happen.
Yeah, thanks, Helen. Chris, have you got anything to add to that?
I just think listening to what Jasper and Helen just said, fantastic advice, and I couldn't agree more, if I'm honest. But just to add on to that as well, it doesn't always have to be experience associated with the industry that we're in. For example, if you can demonstrate some experience or some outside interest that you're involved in, that actually helps us get a picture of the rounded individual that you are. So don't be afraid to come forward and talk to us about the things that you're doing or the experiences you've had elsewhere, because we kind of like look at that information and that kind of go, that individual's involved in that organisation or volunteers there or supports this sort of program. That helps us, have a bigger picture idea of the individual. And also, if you're going to approach our organisation for work experience or register an interest in working for us, please do your research. If you come to our organisation and it looks like that you've gone onto our website and you actually understand a bit about what we do and kind of like play back some of that to us, that care and attention and that attention to detail is incredibly important. If it's important to you to go and do the research, then you deserve our respect and our attention to go, do you know what? They're somebody worth engaging with. So some great advice from my colleagues, and you're pushing on an open door with regards to opportunities that do exist out there. So don't let current restrictions, for what they are, be anything to hold you back.
Thanks, Chris. And can I assure people that's drilling in the background? Adele, as someone who's had 18 years, as you say, in HR and seen many an application, I'm sure. Have you got anything to add to that? And then I want to come straight back to you with another question as well.
So yeah, I just echoing what Chris just said about research. Actually, through the pandemic, lots of employers have had to look at how they represent themselves virtually, online. There's a lot more content there from employers that you can use to research and understand the company and the apprenticeship you're applying for. You can demonstrate that in your application. The other thing to note, and I won't name any of them here because others are available, there are lots of platforms you can use to build a rounder profile of yourself, including some video content and the kind of interactive CVs that some employers use now. They're secure, it's not public information. So it might be worth researching and investigating how you can use some of those tools to present, as Chris said, as round a picture of yourself as possible.
Thanks, Adele. Louise, you will stop me if we need to seize this, but I suppose I'll just ask this of Adele because it's a very important question, bearing in mind the discussion. Vanessa Potter from the Sussex Council of Training Providers has asked us to remind people who might be watching, if you're looking for apprenticeship vacancies right now, where should you be looking? To Adele.
Yeah, at the moment there's multiple options. There's the government sites. You can find them. We'll provide all of the signposting, but there's multiple options, both locally and nationally. And also there are through the government website, there's places you can find apprenticeships that are being revamped from the pandemic. So yeah, multiple different opportunities.
Louise, there's one more question in the chat from Michael Ratcliffe. Do you want me to ask that, or shall we? Yeah. Okay. So as Mike says, he's on a roll now. Over the last couple of years, we've experienced a decline in available apprenticeships, and particularly over the last 10 months, particularly with SMEs. What does the panel think are some of the key priorities for increasing the supply of apprentice vacancies across SELEP for both our school leavers and employed staff? So considering a decline that's been happening recently and certainly over the last few months, what do you think is the key to getting those numbers back up and flying again? If I start with you, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I think it's incredibly important for us to demonstrate the benefits of the apprenticeship program to all of the companies that we engage with. So, again, talking from our own particular circumstance, we engage with a number of supply chain partners, and we do an awful lot of work with them with regards to the benefits of having apprenticeship programs in place. And in fact, some of those supply chain partners have actually taught us some different ways of doing things. So I'm encouraged that we, as a collective group of organisations, can help and support opportunities, programs, and benefits to encourage more available positions to be kind of like advertised and filled, because sometimes I just don't think people understand the ongoing benefits and maybe kind of like look at the more negative connotations. So I think my wider message to summarize really is, let's kind of like focus on the positive, the benefits, the encouragement of that investment in time and effort to introduce the next generation into our organization, so and into the wider industry. So we as Morgan Sindall take that incredibly it's an important step for us to take. We invest in that, and we should be leading the charge with partners like yourselves to make sure that we are walking the walk as well as talking the talk. So show them the way, show them the benefits, and support them in the process.
Thanks, Chris. Louise, perhaps going to you just for a LEP perspective in terms of driving apprenticeship numbers. Is there anything that the LEPs and the combined authorities might be doing?
Yeah, I guess we try to do all we can to support apprenticeships on an ongoing basis. So part of the mission of the, we're having a new website launch next week, which will include an apprenticeship section and have videos, and sessions like today are all part of our raising awareness. But also in terms of things like the funding that we hold, we direct that towards apprenticeships where we can. So we've had things like European Social Fund calls out for supporting apprenticeships and supporting SMEs, and there's a programme now up and running in East Sussex as a result of that. So we'll look to do more of the same, but also feedback to government where there are issues. So we've fed back where there might be barriers. We have a skills report that we're producing soon for the Department for Education. So it's a great opportunity for us to share what's working well and what's not working so well. And for sure, we think apprenticeships need to increase across our geography for all the reasons that we've talked about today, really. They're just such a good model, and they support economic growth. They create opportunities for individuals. And so, yeah, across everything we do, we're doing as much as possible to support apprenticeships. I'm conscious of time. It's gone so quickly. We deliberately made it a fairly short session so that we didn't take up too much of everybody's time. But I think we're going to need to draw things to a close shortly. I just wanted to give panelists the opportunity for any additional thoughts or comments they might have. We have had a few more questions coming through, so what we'll do is pick up with our panelists, if that's okay, separately, and distribute any information afterwards that we want to share. But are there any burning issues panelists would like to share before we go?
There's just one thing. All I'd like to say, I think there has been a blip because of the current circumstances. I know, talking to some of our supply chain, they reduced their numbers that they've been took this last year and they are regretting it. So I think, you know, give it another. I think the reality is we're not going to go back to where we were until probably the end part of this year, the beginning part of the following one. You know, it's challenging times for businesses and we don't want to recruit people that we can't sustain in work. There's nothing worse. So I think, you know, my advice is to young people, do another year in education or go out and find a full-time job somewhere or a part-time job so you're gaining some experience, and all you're doing is putting your start of your career behind by year 2 at the most. And I don't, you know, that is the reality. We can't change what it is. So I suppose it's, don't give up, just find a different way around your problem and try again a bit later on. You know, there's people that's happened to in the last 2 or 3 years irrelevant of COVID. You know, they've missed the closing date of applying for an apprenticeship. I know one of our own apprentices was that, you know, she missed last year's intake, but she's joined us this year because she persevered. She went out and got some more work. She stayed in touch with us. And that's my tip, guys. We have to be more resilient. We have to find other ways around the challenges of today.
Thanks, Helen. It's a great message to end on almost, isn't it? To kind of build up that resilience. I just want to thank our panelists and our attendees so much for all your questions. Thank you for panelists for your time and your insight into experiences with apprenticeships. I think we could have gone on a lot longer, so I think we'll arrange another of these sessions actually, because really pleased how kind of interactive it's been. Just want to say thank you to Amy, our colleague, who's been helping us today with Zoom, and Ellie in our comms team, who supported us really extensively with the videos we've been sharing on our new website. As I said earlier, we have recorded today's session, so we will be sharing that on our website, as well as the new videos that we've produced. And Jim, I think you're just going to share a slide that's got further links and stuff like that, or if that's if we're out of time for that, we can share that as part of our follow-up to today's event. Oh, there we go. I think Jim is sharing that. So that just gives you, we have a new website launching on Monday that's got a lot of further information about apprenticeships, answers some of the questions that have come up today, and includes all of the videos of kind of local employers and stuff like that across our patch. So, and we'll send that out to you if you're unable to see it now. We'll send that out with a follow-up with the Q&A after the event. So thank you so much, everybody. It's been really great to see you all, and thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers all.